So Max will actually allow us to layer animation non-destructively. Let's go ahead and take a look at that feature. Animation layers can save us a lot of time if we're given notes to add a change to our animation where maybe the character needs to be posed a slightly different way. Instead of going in and destroying the keyframes we've spent so much time creating, we could actually add on top of our animation. So we'll go ahead and take a look at how this works. Now we're working with our run cycle example here. Now what if we wanted to have the character turn his head? Maybe something caught his attention. Well, what we do is head over to animation and grab animation layers. Alright, so from here, what we'd want to do is go ahead and select the object we'd like to tie to the animation layering system. With that selected, now we can choose Enable Animation Layers. So Max will ask, what would we like to tie to this layer? So since we're only dealing with rotation on this object, we can make sure that's checked, but you have several other choices here. So for an arm, you might choose position and rotation. Unless you're working with just FK, then rotation would be just fine. So I'm going to go ahead and work with rotation and choose OK. Alright, great. So now what we can do is actually create a layer, because all we've done at this point was enable the layer. So to create a layer, it's just a matter of choosing Add Layer from here. Now, when we go ahead and click on that, we can either duplicate the active controller or work with a clean slate. I like to use the second choice here, so we'll use the default controller type. Feel free to rename the layer from here if you'd like, but if you don't rename it from here, I'll show you another way to do that. So I'll go to now choose OK. And now you can see that this control is now added to this layer. If we were to head over to our motion panel, you could see that, again, that object is tied to our animation layer. All right, great. So now that it is connected to the layer, how can we go in and start to animate? Well, simply go ahead and turn on Auto Key. You can go to a moment where we would like the head turn to start. So let's say he's running till about frame 40. From there, we'll go in and create a rotate keyframe. So we could always go to key filters. We can uncheck position and custom attributes, so we're working as clean as possible. We'll now go ahead and create a key. All right, so now let's go ahead and have him turn his head just a few frames after. So we can go to about frame 51. And we'll go ahead and rotate his head over to his right. All right, so you can see instantly we've added on top of the animation, so now he can look over. Beautiful. So if we wanted to have him look forward again, well, it's just a matter of going to a moment where we'd like to create that change. So let's say we go to about frame 129. We're going to create a rotate key here. And now we can have him look forward a few frames after. So on 136, I'll hold down Shift and I'll drag from 40 over to 136. And now he's pointing his head forward again. Let's go ahead and play this back to take a look. So he's going to look over to his right. And then pretty soon he's going to look back. Notice how instantly we're able to create this. That's really neat. Now let me go ahead and show you something. If we were to go ahead and select the head control here and head over to our motion panel, we could actually go in and rename this animation layer. So it's a good idea to always stay descriptive. We could always call this head offset. So that's very clear. All right, beautiful. So I wanted to point that out to you. Now let's say if you wanted to remove your animation layer, it's just a matter of going to delete animation layer. So once you have it selected from this list, you can go ahead and head over to delete and go ahead and trash it. Choose yes, and now it is gone. And very non-destructive system. Now since that layer is gone, let me go ahead and show you what would happen without the layer. So we have auto key on. What I'll do is go ahead and rotate the character's head on around frame 48. You can see that that keyframe has actually been tied to our cycle range. So notice what happens. We have this weird behavior where he'll start to rotate his head every cycle. And you can see the key has not been added to 48, but to our cycle range. All right, so very important. Instead of making a change like this without animation layers, chances are we'd want to work with layers so that we have a much cleaner result. You can see how distracting this is. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and undo back to bring back our layer. And let's go ahead and take a look at the difference now. When we go ahead and play through, again, you can see how smooth the change is, where he looks over to his right, and then he looks back forward. Great, so in this lesson we have learned how to work with animation layers. Feel free to go ahead and create multiple layers if you'd like. You could also blend between layers and adjust your weight. If I were to turn off auto key and set the weight of this layer to 0, now you'll see no head turns at all. Or we could set this to about 50%. I'll go ahead and put in that value, and now he won't turn his head as much. And of course we can go ahead and continue to add more layers on top of this to blend in and out of these layers in a very non-destructive way, which is super cool.